Two teams separated by 350 miles. The head coach is Doug Marrone of the Jaguars. Adam Gase, he'll also call the plays for the Miami Dolphins on a beautiful late December day here in Miami Gardens. Temperature 71 degrees, light winds, and partly cloudy skies. A lot at stake for the Dolphins today. We told you they can still make the playoffs, but they are eliminated with a loss. They are eliminated from wild card contention if the Colts beat the Giants, and they are eliminated from winning the division title if New England beats Buffalo. So they need a lot of help, but it all starts today with a win.
And when we were at practice on Friday, one of the last things we heard Adam Gase say to his team as he gathered them up at the end of practice, there's a lot to play for. There's a lot left on the table, even if it's a small sliver of hope.
Jacksonville won the toss. They have elected to defer. The Jaguars are once again without their kicker, Josh Lambo. So Kai Forbath will do the field goals and the extra points, but the punter, Logan Cook, handling the kickoff duties as he boots it away deep. Kenyon Drake, the return man for Miami, from his own 2-yard line. And Drake cut down just across the 20. So the Dolphins coming off a brutal road loss in Minnesota last week. For Ryan Tannehill on the season, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And as we pointed out earlier, he has been dominant in home games. He's won 11 of his last 12.
You got to remember, when you lose badly on one Sunday, by Wednesday, it's out of the players' minds. They're on to the next opponent. But for everybody else in town, they keep hearing those lingering comments. You're going to have to address some of those if you're the running backs picking up blitzes against the Jaguars.
Kenyon Drake gets the start at running back, and he gets the call on first down. And Drake up the middle across the 25 to the 27-yard line. Miles Jack on the tackle after a gain of 5 for Drake. Adam Gase calling the plays for Miami. He told us that without Frank Gore today, it's going to take him a few series to figure out how he's going to balance the carries. Gore was so important on first and second downs for the Dolphins. As Gase told us, he kept Miami ahead of the chains. But now without Gore, you've got some different styles back there, James.
They've got an issue with the chain gang on the far side. I don't know if it's broken. They're kind of taking it off. They're doing some repair work. It got tangled up.
Looks like the Christmas lights after you take them out of the basement and put them on the tree. They're all a mess. That's what we have here with the chains.
I keep telling you, at some point, with all the technology that we have, those chains you will just be automatically 10 yards apart, and they will be digitally put in the screen. They won't even be out there as an actual chain game.
So now we're ready after the 5-yard run by Drake on first down. Drake lined up at the top of your screen, matched up with Jalen Ramsey. Tannehill throwing Drake's way. He's got it, and he's got a Miami first down. So Kenyon Drake so dangerous in the pass game. That's his 45th reception of the season.
Take Kenyon Drake on the outside, and he's got, you would say, he's matched up against Jalen Ramsey. No, not really. Jalen Ramsey has deep third, and after the play is over, he kind of looks at the bench and says, just let me get up and press this guy. Take him away, take him out of the play. But when you're playing deep third, you have a slot receiver, you got to respect that inside receiver as much as the outside guy, outside of you.
First down and 10 from the 34-yard line. Tannehill in the shotgun. Back to the air. Has time over the middle. It's caught by his tight end, Mike Gesicki. And wrapped up immediately by Ramsey. As we take a look at the Jacksonville starting defense. And Ramsey elected to the Pro Bowl for the 2nd consecutive year. Said it was super special to receive the honor this week. He's the first Jaguar to go to back-to-back Pro Bowls since Maurice Jones-Drew. And Todd Wash, the defensive coordinator, for a Jacksonville defense that statistically is still number 6 in terms of yards allowed per game, but it's the sacks total that has really been a big difference. They have 28 sacks this year compared to 55 a year ago. And we have a lot of movement up front, and for the first time today we'll hear from our referee, Clay Martin.
False start. on the offense, number 77, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's the 4th false start this season against the right guard, Jesse Davis.
You know, we talked about the Miami Dolphins being positive on first downs, avoiding negative runs. They had a great play on first down. They had a check down pass to the tight end. Now you end up with a 2nd and 10, which is a tough down and distance situation, and will allow this defensive front to get after the quarterback.
It's a handoff to Brandon Bolden up the middle. Adam Gase told us that without Frank Gore, you'll primarily see Ballage and Drake, but Bolden will be part of the game plan as well.
Bolden gives them a little bit of a fullback type presence, even though these are all running backs that they have listed. They don't really have a true fullback, but he has that kind of short, stocky body where you can use him as a lead blocker if you have to.
Yeah, Adam Gase said that people don't realize just how fast Brandon Bolden is. Even though he's built like a fullback, as you said, he's got some good speed. It's 3rd down and 6. Miami is 2nd worst in the NFL on 3rd downs, converting just 30% of the time. Here comes the pressure. Tannehill taking a shot for Amendola, and he's got him for a first down. Shoved out of bounds by Jalen Ramsey, but a gain of 20 for Danny Amendola.
And that was a hard shove out of bounds, but Jalen Ramsey is off. You've got a bunch of receivers. He's inside, so it's great positioning, great scheme for the Miami Dolphins, allowing the receivers to get off. Nobody gets jammed at the line of scrimmage, and then Ramsey with the late shove out of bounds. And little love tap on the quarterback there just to say happy holidays.
Yeah, Amendola got right up and went right back over to have a few words with Jalen Ramsey after that 20-yard reception. As Miami moves into Jacksonville territory, Tannehill swings it. It's Ballage with a lot of room to run. Inside the 20, Ballage lowers his shoulder inside the 15. To Sean Gibson on the tackle, but a 31-yard pickup for the rookie Ballage.
Normally you'll get a 4-man pass rush from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now they bring 5, and you get a nice blitz pickup right there. And that's also going to be your key receiver coming on the backfield, the other end. They cross backs in the backfield, and that's disruptive when you're going against the defense in man-to-man coverage.
On this drive, Tannehill 4 out of 4 for 63 yards. First down and 10 from the 11-yard line. And it's Bolden. Bolden to the 5 and tackled at the 3. Miles Jack with another stop for Jacksonville, but an 8-yard pickup for Brandon Bolden.
I love the moving parts with Adam Gase. A little bit of shifting, then some motion, bringing the tight end to wham block on the inside, and then you're back going from left to right. So a lot of confusion and a lot of moving parts for Jacksonville to try and keep up with.
Second down and 2. There's Drake motioning to the backfield. Tannehill inside to Bolden. Bolden takes it in. Touchdown Miami. Beautiful drive to open up this game, and the Dolphins strike first.
You know, we talked about Frank Gore not being in the game, but right off the bat you can see we use Kenyon Drake, Kalen Ballage, Brandon Bolden. I'm waiting for Mercury Morris to show up. They did such a great job, and I think confusing Jacksonville just enough, moving the running backs around, different locations, different movements. Great job to start the game by Adam Gase. That
goes down as a touchdown pass for Ryan Tannehill, his 17th of the season. And here's the extra point for Jason Sanders, and it's good. 8 plays, 78 yards. Pretty from a Miami point of view. They lead at 7-0. Third touchdown of the season for Brandon Bolden, who was cut by the Patriots after the preseason, was looking for a team to go to and got a phone call from Danny Amendola here in Miami. Of course, they were teammates together in New England, and Amendola said, you got to come down here. Bolden did, and he's paid off here late in the season. Had 2 touchdowns against the Patriots, and now an opening drive score here against the Jaguars. Tannehill 5 out of 5 for 67 yards on that opening drive. Jason Sanders leads the NFL in touchback percentage, 81% of the time. And that average will go up another touchback as Rashad Green takes a knee. So out comes Cody Kessler, who's making his 4th consecutive start for Jacksonville. This season, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and in his career, he is 1-10 as a starting quarterback. The only win was against the Colts earlier this season when they won 6-0. There's Scott Milanovic, who's the quarterback coach and will call plays for the 4th consecutive game after Jacksonville fired Nathaniel Hackett. First down and 10, and it's a pitch to Leonard Fournette on the right side, following his fullback. Bohannon couldn't get there. Raekwon McMillan cuts him down. Look at the Dolphins defense, and there's Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator. They were without 2 big pieces in their secondary today. TJ McDonald out with an ankle injury. He's one of their safeties, but the surprise was this morning with Xavier Howard. He practiced limited all week. He was expected to go on the injury report as questionable, but woke up this morning, did not feel well, and is scratched for the 3rd straight game as Kessler completes it to the fullback Bohannon. And he is taken out of bounds by McMillan. So for Miami now, James, they'll have Torrey McTyer starting at corner, and Minkah Fitzpatrick will take McDonald's place at safety.
What that does for the Jacksonville Jaguars is it gives them the left side and the right side, the ability to throw anywhere they want on the outside against the corners, where when Xavier Howard was playing, there was a caution at your own risk if you're going to throw in his direction.
It's 3rd down and 3. Fournette, the running back. Kessler, sideline, and it's caught by Dante Moncrief for a first down. Moncrief did not have a catch last week in the loss to the Redskins, but he converts this one for a first down.
And that's the pass in the area where Xavier Howard would normally play. Cornell Armstrong, the rookie out of Southern Mississippi, is out there, so you don't worry about throwing that out route. But if Howard's there, no, I'm not throwing an out route in front of him on 3rd and 3 because he may try and pick it off.
Tied for the NFL lead with 7 interceptions on the season. Howard sitting out for the 3rd straight game. Fournette reverses course up the middle and crosses the 45-yard line, where former Jaguar Andre Branch makes the tackle after a gain of 4. And we met with Cody Kessler last night, and he said one of the keys today offensively, get Fournette going early.
And if you are a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars over the last 2 seasons, you have seen Leonard Fournette have to change course so many times behind the line of scrimmage because of penetration from his offensive line. You'd love to have a clean hole for him to just hit, use his power and his speed.
Blake Bell goes in motion. Kessler to Fournette, he dropped it. Now TJ Yeldon is the best pass-catching running back the Jaguars have. But Yeldon is a healthy scratch today. Last week it was Carlos Hyde who was inactive. Today it's Yeldon who is benched.
And when you're a team that's averaging 16 points per game, Andrew, you're not really fishing on offense. And when you have a play that can be made that you don't make, it just takes the wind out of the sails of everybody on that offensive unit.
Jaguars lead the NFL in drop passes. That was their 29th of the year, and once again faced with 3rd down. Kessler to Rashad Green, and he's got the first down. And he makes the catch in front of Torrey McTyer, who, as we told you, starting for Howard today.
Challenge a little more on the outside. If you're these corners, you've got to really be uptight on them. You're giving them too much room because they're not going to be able to throw deep over the top of your head. If you're blitzing, you put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He had to get the ball out quickly, but you gave him a little bit too much cushion on the outside.
And some Dolphins fans might be saying, why don't we put Minkah Fitzpatrick at corner? He's played there this season. Well, all week Fitzpatrick practiced at safety because they had a pretty good feeling TJ McDonald would not go. And that's why they're going to keep Fitzpatrick there at least to start the game. Fournette up the middle and tripped up from behind by Robert Quinn. But some daylight there for Leonard Fournette, who gains 9 yards.
And a nice read by Leonard Fournette because this play is starting off to the right, and watch the cutback open to the backside. And that's really one of the areas that Matt Burke would love to have Robert Quinn squeeze down.
Leonard Fournette in his second year out of LSU missed 6 games this year because of a hamstring and then suspended 1 game for the fight up in Buffalo. So he's missed a total of 7 games this season. He gets the call again, and Fournette will get enough for the first down. We had a good conversation with Fournette last night at the Jaguars team hotel, and you look at his numbers this year compared to last year. Obviously the injury a big part of it. That's why the numbers are down. But as he said, this season is one of the toughest he's faced football-wise. It's been a learning experience for him and for the entire team. And he said, look, if anyone didn't give it their all over the summer getting ready for the season, that will change next year. And he pointed to himself in that regard as well. As Carlos Hyde takes it to the outside, and Hyde out of bounds at the 25. Time for our first NFL Today update. Here's JB and Nate Burleson.
Jags at Miami.
That's right. Good old St. Nick Foles dropping off Gibbs on 4th and 2nd. Darren Sproles, the recipient, 37-yard touchdown. How about that on 4th and 2? And he hands the ball off to Mike Trout. Now that's a home run. Eagles up 7-0.
Eagles went out and get some help for the postseason. Back to Andrew and James.
All right, guys, there you see the wild card picture in the NFC. Eagles are still in the hunt, as JB said. Carlos Hyde, not this time. Raekwon McMillan, a very active first quarter, and the rookie out of Ohio, or the second-year player out of Ohio State, makes another tackle.
Nice job shooting the gap, and if you shoot the gap, you've got to make sure that on the front side, it's taken up, that the runner has to hesitate. You could see Carlos Hyde, he was looking at Raekwon McMillan as soon as he took the handoff going, why is this guy in the backfield? That's not a good thing. We didn't draw it up like that.
Jacksonville 2 for 2 so far on 3rd downs. And this one is a 3rd and 3. In field goal range with Westbrook in motion. And a flag and a false start against Jacksonville.
False start. Offense, number 80. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
That'll go on the tight end, James O'Shaughnessy.
You cannot flinch if you're up in the set position. It used to be where you could move a little bit. It used to be where the defensive line could jump. They could get back. But you've restricted that now because there's so much passing that's going on. A little flinch, a little movement, trying to draw the other people off. You don't want to allow that.
11th play of the drive. It's 3rd and 8. Kessler to Fournette. Fournette, nice move, and tackled short of a first down at the 25. And there is a flag down around the area where Kessler released the football.
Yeah, Robert Quinn pounded
Personal
him.
foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 94. 15 yards added to the end of the play. 1st down.
So a big penalty against Quinn moves the chains for Jacksonville.
And what used to just be a big hit, now you've got to count your steps. You've got to make sure that that quarterback is not that close. And when you hit him below the waist, I think Quinn, who's sliding, going down low, it wasn't that he hit him that late. It was where he hit him. That you have a strike zone from the shoulders to the knees, and hit him below the knees. And they'll call that forcible contact. Big two. Down.
Jaguars do not have an opening drive touchdown since week 2 against the Patriots. Kessler in trouble, gets away from Hull, gets rid of it to Fournette. He's got a lot of room. Fournette inside the 5-yard line. Great job by Kessler to dodge the tackle of Hull, and the Jaguars have it 1st and goal.
Kessler did a great job dodging the tackle, but once Leonard Fournette gets the ball, there's no dodging in Leonard Fournette. He is a downhill brute of a runner. You better move out of my way. You can lower your shoulders. I'm lowering mine also.
1st and goal from the 2.
Fournette's been great over the top.
Fournette takes it in for the touchdown. What an answer by the Jaguars. And for Fournette, that's his 5th rushing touchdown of the year. That stops a streak of 12 straight games without an opening drive touchdown. It was the 2nd longest active streak.
Leonard Fournette takes that handoff in the deep eye position. He's able to read where the penetration is and just kind of dances around it. I thought he was going to do a Superman and go over the top, but why do that when you can walk right in?
A 13-play drive that covers 75 yards. And now here is Forbath in his second game with Jacksonville for the extra point. So both teams score on their opening drives. Fournette answers, and it's tied at 7.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Macy's. Verizon, the best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network. And by Jaguar, the art of performance.
.229 to go, opening quarter, and the Jaguars and Dolphins now tied at 7. Cody Kessler on that drive, 5 out of 6 for 44 yards. It's a Jacksonville team that had just one offensive touchdown in their last 3 games. They get one on their first drive today. Drake, the deep man for the kickoff, on his own 1-yard line. There's a flag down, and Drake is down at the 19.
That's a great kick. If the Jacksonville Jaguars were offsides, that's horrible.
Joe DeCamillis, the Jaguars special teams coordinator.
You've got a new kicker, so you have a little bit of a different rhythm when you're approaching the ball.
Offside. Kicking team number 43. Miami has elected to tackle on 5 yards from the dead ball spot. First down.
That's on the rookie Quentin Meeks. Well, pass protection was a big issue last week for the Dolphins, allowing 9 sacks in Minnesota. And a lot of it was on the running backs, James.
And I talked to running back coach Eric Studesville at practice on Friday, and he had told the running backs, you're going to see the blitz until we start to pick it up. And they've done a nice job in handling those extra rushers and doing their part. They're the receiving or running or getting in the end zone. So they've done a lot. There's Eric right there going, yeah, my guys are getting it done today.
Kalen Ballage starts this drive at running back for the Dolphins. He takes the handoff on first down, wrapped up by Tashawn Gibson. Another NFL Today update, JB and Nate Burleson.
Cowboys clinched the East with a win.
Yeah, guess who's Dak in business? Dak Prescott with 7-yard run designed keeper for the quarterback. Dallas leads 7-3.
Andrew and James, Nate just keeps us on our toes, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Nate had the turtleneck last week. I don't think Phil and Boomer pulled it off today.
Well, I think he must have given them turtlenecks for Christmas.
That should just be a Nate thing on the pregame. 2nd and 10. No gain on that play by Ballage. Tannehill throws high, and Stills is able to reel it in. A.J. Boye with tight coverage. It brings up 3rd and long.
When you throw the ball outside, whether it's against A.J. Boye or Jalen Ramsey, you kind of hold your breath a little bit if you're on the offensive side, because you just know that these 2 corners will plant and drive and try and take the ball away.
Third and 5 for Miami as we approach 1 minute to go in the opening quarter. Dolphins must win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Tannehill lofts one for Stills, incomplete. No flags down as DJ Hayden had the coverage. And out comes the punter, Matt Hawk, for Miami. First incompletion today for Ryan Tannehill. He had started 6 out of 6. There's D.D. Westbrook, the deep man. He took one back 74 yards for a touchdown last week against the Redskins. Gets a running start on this return. Westbrook at the 40, and Westbrook is spun down at the 41-yard line. 46 seconds to go, opening quarter. Tied at 7 on CBS. Tied at 7, Jaguars and Dolphins, and Miami fans who are keeping those playoff hopes alive, keeping an eye on the scoreboard. And as we told you earlier, the Colts, if they were to win, that would eliminate Miami from wild card contention. Early on, Indianapolis down 14-0 against the Giants. As the Jaguars start their second drive, and Kessler is decked. Charles Harris with his first sack of the year.
And Kessler, who thought he had stepped up in the pocket like you're supposed to do as a quarterback, didn't realize that there was somebody who was about to loop around and jump on his back.
Harris missed 5 games with a calf injury. He's been under some criticism, a first-round pick a year ago, for not producing enough. We saw him at practice Friday, James. He had a great practice. He was all over the quarterback, and that continues on here into the game with his 3rd career sack.
And being a rotational player, he comes in and you can play at a really high level when you know you're going to play 25 or 30 plays during the course of a ball game.
We're through 1 in Miami Gardens, tied at 7. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Chevy. Chevy has earned J.D. Power awards across cars, trucks, and SUVs. And by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil.
Ocean Drive in Miami Beach as we start the second quarter, tied at 7 with the Hall of Famer James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalan. Kiko Alonso, you just saw him there, does not have his helmet on, has not been in the ball game as Kessler completes the first pass of the second quarter to Westbrook. Alonso banged up, knee injury, hamstring injury. He was limited all week at practice. He is active today, but has not put the helmet on. We've seen Mike Hull in at linebacker for Alonso.
And you may shrug your shoulders about that, but he had not missed a snap
Personal
the entire
foul,
season.
unnecessary roughness. Defense, number 90. 15 yards will be added to the end of the play. First down.
So Charles Harris, who had the sack a couple of plays ago, now called for unnecessary roughness, coming in late.
You know, he thought he made a good play. He had taken his helmet out of it. He led with his shoulder, and probably doing all that, slowing down a little bit. He didn't get there as early as he wanted if he had gone head first, but you can't go head first any longer. So the new rules impacting that little bit of the tackle right there, having to slow down. Now you're late on the hit.
James, look at this drive defensively for Miami. They're arguably without their 3 best defensive players in T.J. McDonald, Xavier Howard, and Kiko Alonso. Fournette up the middle, and he gets to the 41-yard line. McMillan with another tackle. Dolphins defense has statistically had a brutal year. They allow 402 yards per game, which is 3rd worst in the NFL. They've allowed 400 yards or more 9 times this year, tied for the most in the NFL with Kansas City. Fournette, nowhere to go. Good job of containment there by the Miami front, and no gain on the play.
Leonard Fournette, who is such a presence when you run him straight downhill from the eye, but when you run him across the formation, he's kind of having to pick and choose. And at 233 pounds, he's doesn't really have that stop and start quickness like a lot of small backs do. You want to run him direct and run him in between the tackles and let him use his brute force and his power.
Jags 2 for 2 on 3rd downs. This is 3rd and 7. Kessler flushed out. Throws on the run, and it's incomplete along the sideline. Kessler was trying to get it to Keelan Cole, and Jalen Davis had the coverage in just his 2nd NFL game.
Really nice coverage, because what you're going to get guys who have to cover through the scramble. And once you have to cover through the scramble, you've really got to attack your man. So once Kessler breaks the pocket out here, you see good coverage on the back end where you latch on to anybody who's in your area.
Logan Cook has had a really nice year for the Jaguars, trying to pin Miami deep, with Amendola calling for a fair catch at the 11-yard line. 13-11 to go first half. We're still tied at 7. Aerial coverage of today's game is provided by Goodyear. Back in Miami Gardens, and the Dolphins and Jaguars tied at 7. A wildcat formation here with Kalen Ballage. Ballage will keep it himself and cannot get away from Lyndon Johnson. There are multiple flags down on the field for a potential face mask. Well, that was a great play by Johnson to get in the backfield, but he may have gotten too much of Ballage's helmet.
You know, you make a great play like that, and you're going after the runner, you grab the face mask, and you just go, man, why couldn't I just aim 6 inches lower?
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 92. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
So for the Dolphins, you look at their last 14 games, and then at all the different stages you want to add it up.
That's Gase's tenure, 23 and 23.
23 and 23. It's just, it all adds up to 500. When you go back in time and look at what the Dolphins have done. 23 and 23 under Gase, 42 and 42 in their last 84 games. Trying to break through, and in danger of missing the playoffs here again this season if they don't win out and get a lot of help.
That penalty marches them away from their goal line, lets you function normally as an offense. You're not in a defensive posture, worried about the defense breaking through and making a big play like they did, but they got called for a face mask penalty.
Second down and 7 from the 29-yard line. Tannehill with the play fake, was looking deep over the middle, and it's caught by Bryce Butler. With a flag coming in from the secondary. Butler lunges into Jacksonville territory at the 49 after a gain of 23, but it looks like it's coming back.
Friday at practice, they ran the exact same play. Bryce Butler pushed off a little bit. That time, same thing, extended that arm.
Offense, number 14. 10-yard penalty at the previous spot. Replay second down.
Take another look at Butler pushing off.
It's a read route. If the free safety's deep, he's going to break down and run a hook route at about 20 yards. You need to just swipe that arm away. The minute that you extend, even if you didn't gain a huge advantage, the official sees that extended arm, he sees the separation, and your flag is going to be coming in your direction.
It's already 5 penalties for 58 yards against the Dolphins in the first half. Tannehill quick pass to Devontae Parker. Parker to the 25-yard line. Did not have a catch last week in the loss up in Minnesota. Little extracurricular after that tackle. Jalen Ramsey involved with Danny Amendola.
And Amendola, if you look up in the dictionary, feisty, there his picture is. And if you look up in the dictionary, feistier, there's Jalen Ramsey. So they were not going to back away from each other once they were assigned to block and tackle.
And Adam Gase told us that one of the focal points of practice this week was to avoid post-whistle penalties. He said the Jacksonville Jaguars, they can talk a lot, they can get chippy. We got to stay out of those situations. As Amendola reels this one in. Tackle made by Miles Jack immediately at the 33 after a gain of 8.
Really good open field tackle. You make sure that the throw is underneath the zone coverage, and you rally up, make that one-on-one tackle, force the punt. Now you've got a chance to get one of your most explosive players on your team, D.D. Westbrook, involved.
Amendola 3 yards shy of a first, so out comes Matt Hawk again. Westbrook awaiting the punt at his own 23. Good punt by Hawk, driving Westbrook back to his 15. And a flag is down. That should be a block in the back as Westbrook is out of bounds at the 23-yard line. Looks like they're going to get Quentin Meeks for another penalty.
During the return, illegal block in the back, receiving team number 43. Penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal. First down, timeout.
That'll push the Jaguars back to start this drive as you see the penalty on Meeks. Tied at 7. Don't forget, coming up, Verizon Halftime Report. Our guys back in New York have all the scores and highlights on the Verizon Halftime Report as the Dolphins get set for another defensive set without Kiko Alonso. And James, we saw him moving pretty well at practice on Friday.
We really did, yeah.
So a surprise that he's active, but has not been out there on the field as of yet. Jaguars backed up after that penalty on the punt. Fournette trying to give him a little breathing room, and he does, out across the 15-yard line. McMillan with the tackle. Leonard Fournette made an interesting comment this week as you see the replay again of Fournette's run.
Just that tight end coming in motion, trying to get a hit on Robert Quinn on one end, Cameron Wake on the other, to slow down these elite pass rushers. You're trying, it's like a boxing match. You keep punching them and punching them. By the fourth quarter, they don't have as much pass rush.
2nd and 1, and Fournette picks it up. We mentioned he made an interesting comment this week. He said, I could be in better shape. And when we met with him last night, we asked him to kind of expand upon that comment. He said, well, right now I'm 233 pounds. I need to be a little bit lower than that. But he was more talking about being in game shape, coming back from the injury. He was just riding a bike trying to stay in shape, and he said for that first game back against the Colts, he was really tired after that game. Now that he's practicing more, getting some more game reps, he's starting to feel a little bit better.
I ride the bike, and I'm not in game shape right now. And that 233, he was 225 in high school, so that's not a lot of weight. Think about most of our listeners have gained more than 8 pounds since high school.
Westbrook, and some nice moves by D.D. Westbrook to gain 9. Rashad Jones on the tackle for the Dolphins.
You know, when you see D.D. Westbrook down on the field during pregame warmups, you go, oh, somebody brought their little cousin out here and put a uniform on him. He is not the biggest guy, but when you talk to his wide receiver coach, Keenan McCardell, he said this kid is so tough. There was Keenan standing right in front of him. He said he's so tough, he's just amazing.
Kessler on a 2nd and 1 completes it to Moncrief for a first down. McTyer makes the tackle.
Last week, Cody Kessler threw for 57 yards. He's 6 out of 8 right now, 47 yards. So he's having a gigantic start to this ball game.
Yeah, he threw for 57, but his sack totals added up to 37 yards. So
20 net yards.
20 net yards, a franchise record low for the Jaguars. Dolphins were not much better last week, only 37 net yards passing. Kessler lost a football coming out of his hand. It's loose. A scramble for it on the ground. Dolphins indicating they have it.
A week ago on that same look where you're trying to throw that quick bubble screen, Mika Fitzpatrick posts right in front of it. I believe Kessler's trying to pull that ball back in because he knew it might have been intercepted if he had let it go.
Miami football. That's the 15th lost fumble this season by the Jaguars, the most in the NFL and a franchise record. And the man who comes away with it is a former Jaguar, Andre Branch.
You can see the throw is going to be to the outside. He doesn't like the way it looks. You get a defender going up who might tip it, and you're trying to pull that ball back in, but when he does that, it just falls straight to the ground.
Dolphins will get the ball in great field position when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Jared. Dare to be devoted. Subway, now delivering to your front door. And by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you.
After the Kessler turnover, it's now 17 straight games with a giveaway by the Jaguars. That extends their franchise record, and Miami takes over at the Jaguars' 33-yard line. Can they capitalize off the turnover? Tannehill to Drake, hit immediately and dropped by Miles Jack. A 2-yard pickup. A reminder of what's at stake today for the Dolphins in terms of their slim playoff hopes. If they lose today, they're knocked out. If the Colts beat the Giants, then Miami is eliminated from wild card contention. And if the Patriots beat the Bills, then Miami cannot win the AFC East. And right now, some good news for the wild card hopes in that the Giants have a 14-0 lead on the Colts. 2nd down and 8. To give to Drake. And Drake gets a couple.
Or Jalen Ramsey and Danny Amendola. They're going to go at it because Amendola will not back down. Jalen Ramsey will not back down. That's just the way you have to play. You go up against a tough opponent, you've got to be just as tough-minded as he is.
Ramsey does not keep that mouthpiece in his mouth. He talks a lot of trash, but he did tell us last night the origin of it was just for better communication on defense. That could be a nice little excuse. 3rd down and 5. Tannehill with pressure coming, gets rid of it, and it's incomplete. It was Calais Campbell bringing the heat up the middle. And now it's 4th down, and Adam Gase will send out his kicker, Jason Sanders.
Well, that's a nice job defensively by Todd Walsh to put 2 pass rushes. Ngakwe's on the outside. Calais Campbell's on the inside. And Tunsil has his eyes outside. Ngakwe drops into coverage. Tunsil gets beat. Rarely got beat that time inside by Calais Campbell.
So here's Sanders for a 47-yard field goal attempt. He's only missed 1 field goal all year. He's had a very nice rookie campaign. 7th-round pick out of New Mexico. High snap, and the kick is wide right. Just his 2nd missed field goal of the year, and off the turnover, the Dolphins cannot capitalize. We're still tied at 7. 6:06 to go, first half. Dolphins look great on their opening drive, but since then they have done nothing offensively as Cody Kessler is back out on the field after the missed field goal by Miami. And it's a give to Fournette, who slips a little bit and then runs into his former teammate at LSU, Devon Godshaw. We met with Fournette last night, said those two were very close on and off the field at LSU.
And he recalled a story of when they had to run 110s as a conditioning drill, and he said, Godshaw didn't really handle that as well as what he might have today. Because when you're a freshman and all of a sudden you got to go in and do those conditioning tests, they catch you by surprise.
10 carries, 31 yards for Leonard Fournette. Kessler throwing right to Moncrief and shoved out of bounds at the 45-yard line by Bobby McCain. It brings up 3rd and short.
3rd and very manageable. This is a down where the Jaguars would use T.J. Yeldon as the running back. He's not available, so Leonard Fournette getting a lot of this 3rd down work. And part of it is having to chip on the outside to slow the pass rushers down. So before Leonard Fournette goes out, he's going to probably block and help out on the edge there before he has to go out in the pattern.
Kessler fires, and it is caught by Westbrook for a 1st down. Kessler really rifled that pass, and Westbrook was able to reel it in.
D.D. Westbrook, who is an Allen Iverson 6 feet tall, really stretches out for this ball along the sideline. He gets about every inch of his body into that one, catches it, and drags the feet before he goes out of bounds.
And now an issue for the Jaguars is right tackle Josh Wells is slowly walking off the field with the training staff. He is starting for the injured Jeremy Parnell, who was put on IR. So the Jaguars already down to their 4th different left tackle. Now they're going to be bringing in their 3rd different right tackle.
Well, Chris Reed is going to go to left guard. Omamahe, who is the left guard, is now going to go not even from guard to guard, but from guard to tackle.
Omamahe is playing right tackle, Reed in at left guard. It's a play fake. Kessler hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. And Kessler is still down on the ground. Slow to get up after taking a shot from Robert Quinn. And Blake Bortles quickly off the bench.
I think Blake should look for his helmet. This is a really vicious hit here, and he lands on that right shoulder that thing goes numb for a little while. You can see Kessler get up and not really move it around a lot. Jaguars are going to use a timeout here. Check on Kessler.
Yeah, Doug Marrone wants to give Kessler a chance to catch his breath and also determine if he needs to remove him from the game. Cody Kessler is on the sideline, and they were stretching out his right arm. So Blake Bortles, who was benched after the Week 12 game against Buffalo, is into the game to take over this Jacksonville offense on 2nd down and 10. Bortles will throw and delivers a strike underneath to Westbrook. Now, we met with Doug Marrone last night. He told us that Blake Bortles did get some reps with the first team this week. As he told everyone earlier in the week, everybody has to be ready to play, and he said that if Kessler was struggling, he was not going to be afraid to go to Bortles. So it's not like Blake has been cold all week. He did get some reps with the first team. Of course, this is not the situation Doug Marrone wanted him to come in with an injury to Kessler, but Bortles is in there on 3rd and 4. 3:40 to go first half. Bortles in trouble, and he's sacked. Cameron Wake now has 5.5 sacks on the year.
Tight zone defense. You've got some short crossing routes, and they clamp down. It made Blake Bortles look right, look left. Not enough time to get the ball out. Takes a sack.
Wake now has 97.5 sacks in his career, so inching closer to triple digits. He would be the 33rd player in NFL history with at least 100 sacks. Not bad for an undrafted guy out of Penn State. Amendola, fair catch at the 13-yard line. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Pepsi. Couple of injury updates to pass along. Still awaiting word on Kessler, but for the Jaguars, their right tackle Josh Wells is being evaluated for a concussion. And for the Dolphins defensively, Ziggy Hood, a former Jaguar, is questionable to return with a hamstring injury. He was on the injury report all week and did not practice Wednesday because of a hamstring. So 2:55 to go. Dolphins have all 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. And they'll start this drive at their own 13-yard line. Play fake for Tannehill. Sets up the screen. It's Balaj. And Balaj hit hard at the 20. NFL Today update. Here's JB and Phil Simms.
Philly doing its part.
Yeah, they love going forward on 4th down twice today. 4th down. This is 4th and 1 to Zach Ertz. They scored 2 touchdowns on 2 4th down plays. Andrew James, let me just tell you, I rocked the turtleneck today. Boomer, 13-9 Philadelphia.
Andrew, he could not wait to do that. He could not wait for that.
I thought we were safe. I thought Nate was going to be on the desk all day. Phil jumping in there to bust us. 2nd and 2, Balaj. And he's going to be very close to a first down. On the opening drive, Dolphins had 8 plays for 83 yards. Since then, 12 plays for just 36 yards. As Adam Gase looks up, we've hit the 2-minute warning here in Miami Gardens.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Light up Christmas at Walmart. And by Fisher Investments.
2 minutes to go first half. We're tied at 7. Coming up, Verizon halftime report. Our guys back in New York have all the scores and highlights. Playoff implications on the Verizon halftime report. On 3rd and 1, Wildcat formation. Balaj up the middle, and he's got the first down. Injury update from the Jacksonville sideline. Cody Kessler with a right shoulder injury, but he's been cleared to return, so that's good news. We'll see who Doug Marrone turns to the next time Jacksonville gets the football. Right now, Miami in the 2-minute offense. They have all 3 timeouts remaining. And before the snap, a false start against the Dolphins. Their 5th penalty today.
Like Tunsil's got a little bit of an early start there coming out of his stance.
Tunsil is not allowed a sack this season. Adam Gase said he was shocked that Tunsil did not get the call for the Pro Bowl earlier this week.
False start. Offense, number 78. As this foul has occurred inside 2 minutes, there will be a 10-second runoff. Please set the clock to 1:26, and the clock will start on my signal. 1:26. Thank you.
Third false start of the season for Tunsil. So interestingly, Adam Gase wants to keep the timeout because he could have used a timeout and kept the 10 seconds on the clock. Instead, he wants the timeout, and they'll lose the 10 seconds. So 1:26 and running here, late first half. Tannehill, here comes the pressure, and he is sacked.
Now Jacksonville should use their timeouts. If you're Doug Marrone, you get scampered down the sideline as fast as you can.
Ngakoue and Campbell closed quickly on Tannehill. A loss of 12. Jacksonville calls timeout. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Progressive Insurance. Second down and 27 for the Dolphins after the big sack. Tannehill, he'll keep it himself. And he slides down at the 20-yard line. Doug Marrone quickly calls timeout again after a gain of 10. And that's the final timeout of the half for the Jaguars with 1:06 to go.
And remember, they had to use that timeout when they weren't sure about Kessler's shoulder. So they stopped the clock there, and there's a little bit of a tumble there. Does his knee. You see that knee brace catches on the turf. It's not a smooth surface, and that hinge gets stuck in the grass.
And Tannehill's all bandaged up. He's got his right ankle taped up. He got it stepped on in the New England game, and of course missed 5 games with a right shoulder injury. Since his return, he's been wearing a harness on his right shoulder until this week. He decided to drop it this week at practice and is not wearing that harness anymore on his right shoulder.
You can expect this to be a safe pass to kind of keep the clock running if they don't pick up the first down.
Yeah, or a run, yeah. You just want to keep the clock going as Drake stays on his feet and tackled inbounds at the 30-yard line by Ngakoue. Jacksonville cannot stop the clock, so Miami could run it down to about 20 seconds.
Miami should run this down, use their last timeout. They've got 3 timeouts. Use a timeout, stop the clock with 1 second. 1 second on the play clock, of course.
Yeah, frustrating first half offensively for Adam Gase. Dolphins have just 48 yards rushing, and outside of that first drive, they have not been able to move the ball. How much do you think they've missed Frank Gore here in the first half, James?
I think they miss his effort, but the one thing that they can look at is they did have 1 successful drive. So when you go in at halftime to make the corrections, you end up talking about the things that you did in that first drive successfully, and you want to repeat a lot of those.
Dolphins had 4 first downs on their opening drive, just 2 since. And Westbrook, who had the 74-yard punt return for a touchdown last week, is back deep for Jacksonville.
If I'm the Dolphins, I punt this ball out of bounds. I don't even give him a chance to return it.
Hawk. This is in the field of play. Westbrook from his own 18. Westbrook sees a lane. Here goes D.D. Westbrook. Westbrook at midfield. Cuts it back. And the punter, Hawk, wrestles him down. Matt Hawk may have saved a touchdown. And there are still 4 seconds on the clock. So we'll see how Jacksonville plays this. It would be a very long field goal. As we take another look at the punt return.
I think you absolutely go for your field goal here, but D.D. Westbrook is so explosive. Like I said, I would have punted this ball out of bounds, not given him a chance to return it because he's so dynamic in that area. And Hawk thinking we should have kicked it out of bounds, but if not, I'll make the tackle.
So a 44-yard return, and now Forbath is out there for a 56-yard field goal attempt. Just his second game of the season. He has not attempted a field goal from beyond 50 yards this year. And this one barely gets off the ground.
Wow. I don't know if he slipped a little bit or his plant foot was too far away from the ball, but that did not look majestic.
Looks like one of your 3-woods at Topgolf the other day.
I knew that was coming.
That's the end of the first half with the score tied at 7. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me the football schedule.
Back in Miami Gardens on a beautiful late December day. Set to start the second half with the Jaguars and Dolphins tied at 7. Here in the booth with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalon. The offense for Miami, great opening drive.
Yes.
Didn't do much after that. You look at the Jaguars offensively, they said they wanted to run Leonard Fournette more, and they have. He has 10 carries.
He has run the ball effectively in spurts. You haven't had big holes for him, but what he's done, especially on, say, a 2nd and 2 or a 2nd and 1, he's just gotten the first down. So he's mission accomplished when you give him the ball. He got in the end zone early, but I don't know if it's sluggish offense or really good defense, because remember, coming into this game, Jacksonville, good defensive team, a lot of great defensive players with some pride on that unit. So I like the way they played defensively. Let's see what they can do offensively to start the second half.
You see the quarterback numbers, the one turnover, a lost fumble by Cody Kessler. He injured his right shoulder in that first half. He's been cleared to return. And the Jaguars get the football first to start the second half. And you see Kessler has the helmet on, Bortles back in the baseball hat. So it looks like Kessler will go back in there.
If I am Cody Kessler and I'm kind of a journeyman quarterback trying to earn my way in the NFL, I don't tell him how badly my shoulder might be hurting. I'm going to go out there and give it another shot, see what I can do.
Sanders will kick it away. Rashad Green, the deep man for Jacksonville. Another touchback for Sanders, who leads the NFL in touchback percentage. Let's take a look at the first half numbers. And for the Dolphins, 132 yards on offense, but 75 of them on that opening drive.
Both teams, big drives to start the game where you get in the end zone. And we looked at each other and said, hey, we're going to have a shootout today. Well, not so much so far.
Good news for the Jaguars is that Kessler is in there. The bad news is that Josh Wells, the right tackle, has been ruled out for the rest of the game with a concussion. Fournette has the carry on first down. So Jacksonville is keeping Patrick Omameh at right tackle. Coming into the game, Omameh had appeared at right tackle a total of 5 snaps all season. So Omameh moves out there on the outside, and Reed takes Omameh's left guard spot.
And sometimes when you play the guard position, you're a communicator. So you're passing along the call that the center gives to the tackle. Omameh is just sitting out there waiting for the guard to tell him, you know, what the call was from the center now.
Green 80.
Kessler, chased by Wake, gets rid of it and completes it to Westbrook. Westbrook with a nice move. And D.D. Westbrook all the way out to the 49-yard line. A 22-yard pickup.
If you are unsure of your protection, the best thing to do is to move the pocket a little bit. They brought the tight end in to make it look like one of those runs where he's going to crack the defensive end, get your quarterback outside the pocket, and Kessler, under pressure, makes a really, really good throw to D.D. Westbrook.
Longest play of the day for the Jaguars. Westbrook now 4 catches for 34 yards. Fournette to midfield. James, look at this Jacksonville offensive line right now. The tackles, Flowers and Omameh, were cut by the Giants this year, picked up by Jacksonville. Tyler Shatley is the backup center because Brandon Linder is out. The guard, Chris Reed, is a backup. And the other guard, A.J. Cann, he is the only starter from week 1 who is still left on this offensive line.
At practice, you know, they wear name tags so that they know what to, they just met each other for the first time.
Second down and 9. Kessler fires left. Another catch for Westbrook, who bounces off a couple of tackles and then reaches forward very close to a first down. McMillan and McTire applying the hit, but Westbrook, as you mentioned earlier, James, is a tough player.
And that is a great job getting the most out of a play, because you get two guys that are coming up trying to lay a big lick on you, and he doesn't go down until the third defender comes in, and he really gives Jacksonville a chance to pick up this first down. You get the fullback in, you hand this ball off to Leonard Fournette. That should be the call right there.
Westbrook just short of a first down. It's 3rd and 1. Bohannon the fullback, Fournette the running back. And Kessler is just going to keep it himself for a first down.
Why turn around and give it to somebody 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, where you can just plow behind your center and fight for it? If you're a quarterback, he did a great job staying low and burrowing his way toward that first down.
So the drive continues. First down and 10 at the Miami 40. Carlos Hyde now in at running back. He had 2 carries in the first half. Dave Williams does not have a touch in this game, the 3rd running back for Jacksonville. It's Hyde on a pitch right with a flag down. And Rashad Jones jumps him from behind. And this is going to be a hold.
We talked about this. This is one thing. These offenses aren't really equipped or good enough to overcome a big penalty to continue a lot of drives sometimes.
Holding. Offense number 64, 10-yard penalty. Replay the down.
That's on Chris Reed, who's into the game at left guard.
Reed is going to pull. He's got a cutoff from the backside, and he's so far away from the play, and he hooks the guy around his neck from behind. That makes no sense at all. He's not going to get involved in the play, and he's not going to tackle your runner for a 10-yard loss. You look at Doug Marrone. He's so frustrated because he's played that position. He's played along the offensive line.
And he coached the offensive line before taking over the head job in Jacksonville. Kessler, and he'll just throw this one away. Well, in 1987, Doug Marrone, a member of the Miami Dolphins, a backup offensive lineman. He played 4 games for the Dolphins that year. It was a strike year, and he really shared some great stories about his playing days with the Dolphins with us last night. Specifically, his fondest memory, his locker was right next to the great Dwight Stevenson, who's in the Hall of Fame. To me, Marrone told us he's the best center of all time. And he still tells his current team stories about Stevenson on 2nd and 20 here. Kessler over the middle and Fournette on the catch. And the story he shares to his team about Stevenson is that every time Stevenson stepped on the field, he said he wanted to get better.
Right.
And he remembers even after a walkthrough, when you're in shorts and a t-shirt, just walking through the plays, that Stevenson would still be breaking a sweat. And he tells his players now, every time you step on the field, you need to find a way to get better. And he was so happy to share that one season here in Miami with the great Stevenson.
Remember, that sweat was in South Florida, not in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
3rd down and 9 with Kessler in the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Kessler is sacked, and it's Jalen Davis in just his 2nd NFL game, coming on a blitz and bringing down Kessler. His first NFL sack, undrafted out of Utah State.
Having to try and overcome that penalty at 3rd and long, you get in a blitz situation. This quarterback hasn't faced a lot of those recently and hasn't faced them and done well against them, so you're able to get him. He holds the ball too long. He doesn't get to his outlet or his hot receiver. And he has to take a sack, moving them out of field goal range.
Matt Burke told us he was going to rotate a lot of different guys in the secondary today, and Davis is one of those guys. Coming up with a big play and forcing the punt as Amendola calls for the fair catch at the 10-yard line. 9:43 to go, 3rd quarter. We are still tied at 7. Dolphins trying to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. The Colts continue to trail the Giants while the Patriots have a 3rd quarter lead on the Bills. 3rd time today, Miami has started inside its own 15-yard line. On 1st and 10, it's a handoff to Brandon Bolden, who was hit hard by Avery Jones. Well, this past Tuesday, the Jaguars hosted Christmas with Calais. Calais Campbell and his teammates surprised 40 students from Northwestern Middle School in Jacksonville with a Santa meet and greet and a holiday shopping spree. We met with Calais last night. He said it's always a big thrill for him to be able to do that. He's such a big part of that community in Jacksonville.
I asked him why he didn't wear a Santa suit. I don't think have any for a guy at 6'8".
Yeah. Tannehill with the play fake, Ngakoue coming. Tannehill gets rid of it to Drake. Drake with a nice cutback move and out of bounds for a first down. It was DJ Hayden who missed the tackle.
That is the unique ability that Kenyon Drake has. He has great speed. He's maybe the fastest player on the Dolphins, but able to stop, start, change direction, and you can see the vision. He's looking up the field past that first defender, figuring out how he's going to get past the second defender.
83 yards on the first drive, 49 total on the last 4 drives for the Dolphins with 8.5 to go in the third. Drake in the backfield. And Bolden is spun down. Guess who? Santa Calais. It was not a fumble. He'll run it in anyway. But what a play by Calais Campbell, continuing to be an impact player at the age of 32.
And he's going to come right across the face of the offensive tackle. The thing that he did at the end of the play, by picking the ball up and making sure he had it, if it was loose, if it was coming loose, you could possibly challenge it if there's a good look for Doug Marrone.
A loss of 3 on the play. And now there is a challenge by Doug Marrone. He believes this football came out.
I think it's a good challenge deep in their territory. We haven't had a look at it yet, and it's such a quick play.
Jacksonville is challenging the ruling on the field that the runner was down by contact. That play is now under review.
Take a look as we go to commercial. Was it coming out?
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Farmers Insurance. Pizza Hut, official pizza sponsor of the NFL. And by Kay Jewelers, for all the moments, for love, forever.
After review, prior to the runner's knee hitting the ground, the ball came loose and was recovered by Jacksonville. It'll be first down to Jacksonville at the 17-yard line. Jacksonville will not be charged a timeout.
What a challenge from Doug Marrone as we bring in our rules analyst, Gene Steratore from New York. And Gene, what did you see on that play?
Totally agree, Andrew. And as you said, Coach Marrone, who is now 6 out of 7 this year in challenges, had taken his time right before the snap. He got a good shot, threw the flag at the right time, and that is clearly a fumble recovered by Jacksonville.
And Gene, you mentioned his record. He's now 61% in his career on challenges, the best of any active head coach. And you know why, James Lofton? And Gene, it's because he went to Syracuse. It's a Syracuse education right there, Doug Marrone. Westbrook, he's looking to throw it. And he takes a big shot as he throws it away. Gene, thank you so much.
Now that's a smart play at the end of the play by D.D. Westbrook, because he's behind the line of scrimmage, he's outside the pocket, and if he had run out of bounds, that would have been a sack, negative yardage, but now they get a 2nd and 10. Keelan Cole comes open late. He's the crosser, he's underneath, he's open, but Cameron Wake is kind of in the vision of D.D. Westbrook, and D.D. takes a big shot at the end, but we've already documented how tough of a kid he is.
2nd down and 10. Here is Fournette. And Fournette to the 13 with a flag down. This is the first time all season the Jaguars have started a possession inside their opponent's 20-yard line.
Holding. Offense, number 75. 10-yard penalty at the previous spot. 2nd down.
That's on Eric Flowers. The Jags are the only team in the league yet to start a drive inside their opponent's 20.
A year ago, Jacksonville feasted off of turnovers. It seemed like they got one every other quarter. This year they come in minus 12, and they just were not built to play like that. We talked about the fact that they lose Marquise Lee, their top receiver, during the offseason. They lose Cam Robinson, their left tackle. Leonard Fournette 6 games with an injury, 1 game with suspension. This has been a totally different season than what they expected.
Fournette nowhere to go on the right side, trying to come back to the left. He's losing yards. Fournette with a big loss as he is dropped by his former teammate at LSU, Godshaw. A loss of 8 on the play.
And let's remember, this drive started right outside the 16-yard line. Holding play. Now you got to run where he's running from side to side as opposed to straight downhill. Leonard Fournette trying to dodge and dance. He is not that type of runner. Certainly, he has power and strength and speed, but he needs to run downhill in between the tackles.
That pushes them back all the way to the 35-yard line. Here comes Wake, and Kessler is down. There's a flag down as well. It was Cameron Wake who got back there. And let's see what the penalty marker is.
You got to decide you want to push him back and make him repeat the down.
Holding. Offense number 77. 10-yard penalty. Replay the down.
Yeah, if they declined, it would have been about a 55-yard field goal. As you can see on the right side, Omame called for holding on Wake, who still got there.
And Cameron Wake is thinking in the back of his head, I remember talking to him before the game down on the field about getting to the 100-sack mark. He said, don't do that to me. Don't make me think about it. He's just trying to function, play in and play out. And he's on the open edge again, so you've got an open edge with no pass protector on that side.
3rd and 38. There it comes again, and Kessler is down. Andre Branch, the former Jaguar, joining the party as the Dolphins are just feasting on this Jacksonville offensive line.
In training camp, you have one of the equipment men stand right back here in the back end, and you try and get to him. This play, everybody's trying to get there. I think there's a couple halves there. I'd have to at least give Cameron Wake half that, Branch the other half.
For now, it's all Branch, but you're right, they could adjust that. As a penalty is down as the punter, Cook, got hit hard. We'll see if it's 5 or 15 and an automatic first down.
Darren Rizzi, the special teams coach, is holding up his hand 5 on the sideline, hoping that it is 5 yards and not 15, which would give him an automatic first down.
There's Darren Rizzi. Done a great job coaching this Miami special teams unit in his 8th season.
So it looks like it's 5 because it was 15. There'd be no discussion with Doug Marrone on the far sideline.
And it was Hall who ran into him.
Looked like the punter
running
jumped
into
over
the kicker. Receiving team, pardon me, defense, number 38. That penalty is declined. First down.
They called on Bolden. It's declined, and it's Miami football when we come back. Wednesday on CBS, join the All-Star celebration honoring Reba McEntire, Cher, Wayne Shorter, Philip Glass, and the creators of Hamilton. Gloria Estefan hosts the Kennedy Center Honors Wednesday at 8/7 Central, only CBS. Miami takes over after it was 4th and 46, and Kenyon Drake gets the call. How about Darren Rizzi, the special teams coach, during that last time out? He was hot at the officials, did not agree with that running into the kicker penalty.
He would have agreed a lot less if it had been roughing the kicker. So he got off easy there. There were 2 Dolphin defenders right around the kicker as he's trying to come down out of the ground, place to plant his feet there.
So both teams now have had a turnover and taken over inside their opponent's 35-yard line, and it led to no points. Amazing that Jacksonville could not even get a field goal after taking over at the 18-yard line. Tannehill completes it. That's his tight end, Durham Smythe, with just his 3rd reception of the year. Keeping track for the Dolphins' playoff hopes of some of the other scores. They need the Colts to lose. Indianapolis coming back. They are within 3. They could also still win the division, Miami, if they win out and New England loses out. And New England only up 1 score on the Bills in Foxborough. Inside 5 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Here comes the pressure, and down goes Tannehill. Give this one to Ngakoue, his 8th sack of the year. We met with Calais Campbell last night, and he said that Ngakoue and Campbell, they talk trash to each other about who's going to get more sacks.
You're trying to throw the ball in the area of Jalen Ramsey, and you hesitate, you're going to get sacked because he can take the ball away, and you realize I can't make this short throw to Bryce Butler. And I turn, try and bail out of the pocket. There's Ngakoue just waiting on him.
He has 28 sacks in 47 career games. What a pick he has been. 3rd round out of Maryland in 2016. 2nd and 17. Tannehill too high. Overthrows the intended target, Devontae Parker. They have been deflected at the line. And now 3rd and long for Miami.
I'm not sure if Devontae Parker is fully committed when he's coming across to get this ball. I know it's off target a little bit, but see the hands start to go up and then kind of pull back. That's tough when you're going across the shallow middle. You know that the linebacker, you know that Miles Jack is there waiting on you.
Marcel Darius got a hand on that one. Miami now faced with 3rd and 17.
We talked to Tannehill about trying to throw over Calais Campbell at 6'8".
Tannehill in trouble again, and a flag is down as Tannehill just gets rid of it. McCray and Malik Jackson were applying the pressure.
Even though they had Tannehill by the back, there's no horse collar when the quarterback's in the pocket, so that's probably a hold against the Dolphins.
Holding, offense, number 78. That penalty is declined. 4th down. There is no foul for a horse collar as the quarterback was in the pocket.
There you go, James Lofton. Penalty on Tunsil declined, and Miami will punt.
When I got off the plane, I did have on that striped black and white shirt.
And Malik Jackson has seen his playing time reduced over the last couple of weeks, with Taven Bryan earning more snaps, but Jackson making an impact play there on 3rd down. And there's the dangerous Westbrook, who in the first half had a 44-yard return.
Out of bounds. Kick it out of bounds, Andrew.
And another penalty on Miami.
Snap infraction. Offense, number 92. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
It's on the long snapper, John Denny, now at the young age of 40.
See, it's just that lowering of the rear end that you're kind of simulating the snap, trying to get the defense to jump off sides.
This is Denny's 223rd consecutive game. Good snap. And the punt by Hawk. With Westbrook from his own 29. Runs into his own man Green. Westbrook trying to get away from Balaj, and he can't. Was that a horse collar? It was. There is the flag and a penalty on Balaj. Penalties continue to mount against Miami.
Now, D.D. Westbrook at 175 pounds is fast. Balaj weighs 240. Now, I know it's a horse collar, but that's 240 chasing 175. That's some speed on both ends.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle. Miami number 27. 15 yards will be added to the end of the run. 1st down, timeout.
Well, you know who's coming in 2 days. Santa coming to town here in Miami.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Microsoft Surface. And by State Farm, here to help life go right.
.348 to go, 3rd quarter. Both teams scored on their opening drives. We have not had any points since, as Kessler hands off to Fournette. And Fournette still turning those legs for a couple of yards. Beautiful day here in Miami Gardens. Aerial coverage is provided by Goodyear. So on the team's opening drives, they combined for 150 yards. On the 12 drives since, the teams have combined for less, 127 yards. Where's the offense, James Lofton?
It's been smothered by the defense and an occasional penalty that takes these limited offenses out of their game plan.
It's a play fake. Kessler. Pressure's coming. Kessler is sacked. Robert Quinn coming around the corner. And he brings down Cody Kessler. That's the 6th sack today by the Dolphins defense.
When you're trying to take a deep shot, you want great protection up front. There's adequate protection here. Kessler steps up. Now here comes Quinn. He's got to be able to realize, I don't have the deep shot. They've got a free safety in deep center field. Where's my check down? You have to know that immediately to get that ball out of your hands and prevent the negative play.
Kessler has now been sacked 19 times in his 4 starts. Kessler throws it high, dangerous pass, and incomplete. Off the fingertips of Fournette, and a quick 3-and-out for Jacksonville.
We've seen some big play excitement from Jacksonville on the punt return. Now Danny Amendola gets a chance. He won't have to catch this one inside the 10-yard line like he's been doing. It seems like all afternoon he may have a chance for a return here.
Amendola to the 25. And tackled immediately at the 27-yard line. Trey Herndon with a nice play on special teams. Well, as we celebrate CBS's Super Bowl season, we take a look back at some Super Bowl memories. Super Bowl 7, Miami and Washington. Dolphins were led by Don Shula and the no-name defense. Jake Scott, 2 interceptions, MVP. Miami completed their perfect season and won their first Super Bowl. CBS, the proud home of Super Bowl 53 this season. The game is February 3rd in Atlanta.
Now, you know what I saw in that clip? Billy Kilmer in the single bar face mask with no chin strap underneath, just that helmet glued to the head.
I love the end zones today, too. A flashback for the Dolphins. The old orange end zones with the green script as Tannehill slides down. Throwback uniforms for the 3rd time. Yeah, fans love it down here. They love these old school colors. There's the end zones. Throwback to the Orange Bowl days.
This Jacksonville's defense, you take away that first drive, it's been hard to find an area that you can attack. You have a tough time throwing against the corners on the outside. You're getting pass rush on the inside. You got Calais Campbell on the end and Ngakoue on the other side. It's tough. You got guys forgetting to go in motion. Your quarterback going, come on, come on.
Play clock at 3. Balaj. He fights his way for a couple. The safety Jared Wilson coming up to make the tackle, and now some boos from the fans here in Miami as they've seen enough of this offense, which has done nothing since the opening drive.
And if you're Adam Gase, what you're trying to do, you're trying to get to 3rd and 3 or 4. This 3rd and 7, you've got to hold the ball a little bit longer, and they have just unleashed this pass rush the last couple of series. Where's Ngakoue, number 91? You need to find him right now and get somebody to deal with him there. He's floating around right now.
3rd and 7. Here comes the blitz. Tannehill in trouble, and he just throws it away. And another 3-and-out, and more boos from the fans. That's the 3rd 3-and-out today by the Miami offense.
When you don't know who you're trying to pick up here in the front area, it gets exceptionally tough. Make a good outside rush here. Don't squeeze it too much. So much pressure. Good coverage one-on-one on the back end. Nowhere to throw it away.
Since the opening drive, the longest play Miami has had is a 10-yard run by Tannehill. That's been their longest offensive play since the first quarter. And a short punt here by Hawk, and it takes a Jacksonville bounce out of bounds at the 41-yard line. How about an NFL Today update? Let's go back to New York and JB.
How about the Patriots looking for their 10th straight East title?
Yeah, it's 4th and 4. Brady to Edelman, and check this out. He rolls right over and never touches the ground. This is a 32-yard TD. The Pats, they are rolling 21-6.
Andrew, so far it's thumbs up for Phil and Boomer with the turtlenecks. Back to Andrew.
Well, guys, if that score holds, that is one less way for Miami to get in the playoffs. The Patriots would win the division. And as we told you, Doug Marrone said that if Cody Kessler was not getting it done, he would not be shy to go to Blake Bortles. And he has right here, and Bortles on his first play with an 11-yard run. So if you're just joining us, Marrone told us that Bortles got some reps with the first team this week, and that if Kessler struggled offensively, he was not going to be shy to go to Blake.
And we asked defensive coordinator Matt Burke for the Dolphins, what do you think about Bortles? He said he's a good runner and he's an excellent athlete. You know, Bortles maybe can struggle throwing the ball sometimes, but when he runs the ball, when he pulls it down, when he's in the pocket, those are such good decisions that he made down the stretch for this team last year. You've got to worry if you're on defense right now for the Dolphins.
8 seconds left in the third quarter. After that 13-yard run by Bortles, he hands it to Carlos Hyde, and a flag comes in from behind the play with zeros on the clock here in the third quarter.
Looks like Chris Reed kind of heard his number call, and you could see his body language from up here.
Holding, offense, number 64. 10-yard penalty at the previous spot. Replay the down. The next snap will be in the fourth quarter. This is the end of the third quarter.
On a warm Miami day, these offenses are ice cold. Start of the fourth quarter in Miami Gardens. We're tied at 7 with the Hall of Famer James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalan. Miami has done very well in one-score games. Best record in the league, 7-1. And D.D. Westbrook with a catch on the first play of the fourth quarter. Just barely reeled that one in off the ground. And for Westbrook, that's his 6th grab of the day.
I think just about every time we've thrown the ball in his direction, he's caught it. So continue to go to him, find ways to get him the ball, give him the ball where he can run in open space, that time right at his ankles. Hard to run after the catch.
Cody Kessler bench, Blake Bortles, another keeper. He's got room to run. This is the threat that Bortles brings as he lowers his shoulder and picks up another first down. Rashad Jones on the tackle.
When you get ready for your game plan and you're facing Cody Kessler, you saw him run, but they weren't a lot of design runs. And so now the game plan has changed, and the Dolphins need to make that adjustment. You need to make sure that both edges are contained by the defensive ends or the linebackers, and Blake Bortles doesn't have that option to pull it out of the belly of the runner and run around the corner.
Bortles has 27 yards rushing on this drive as he hands to Fournette, and McCain grabs him from behind. A lot at stake today for the Dolphins, trying to keep their faint playoff hopes alive. They cannot lose this game. They're eliminated from wild card contention if the Colts win, and they would be eliminated from the possibility of winning the AFC East if the Patriots win. So the Patriots still looking good. Division title hopes going away, but that wild card, Giants maintaining a 3-point lead on the Colts. But Miami's got their hands full here with the Jaguars, who are driving. Bortles, quick pass, and it's caught by Westbrook. And Westbrook to the 25 with a flag down. Jones, another tackle, and then a few words with Westbrook. And another flag comes in. And if that's on the Dolphins, that is really going to tick off Adam Gase, who preached to his team all week, avoid the post-whistle penalties.
You see Adam Gase on the sideline. His assistant head coach, Sean Jefferson, is the one who's kind of up monitoring what's going on and making decisions about whether to accept, decline the penalties while he's getting ready for the offense, trying to figure out something to get the offense in gear once they get the ball back. Looked like there was a penalty on the tackle. I don't know if that was a face mask or holding against the offense, but we may have offsetting penalties when all is said and done.
There are fouls by both teams on the play. Holding. Offense, number 10. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting. Defense, number 20. Those penalties will offset. We'll replay the down.
There's your offsetting penalties as Rashad Jones post-whistle penalty, what Adam Gase was talking about with his team all week.
So you get the hold at the point of attack by Moncrief. Not much of a hold, but it gets called. And then at the end of the play, once you've made the play, let the play speak for itself. You don't have to taunt or stand over Westbrook. Now, Westbrook is such a tough guy to tackle. He may be telling you, hey, look at all you guys. Outweigh me by 30 pounds. You can't even knock me over. And that would frustrate me if I was trying to tackle him. But he might be able to get under your skin.
So Jones, who has openly said how frustrating this season has been for him, with a frustration penalty there. And the offsetting penalties bring it back to 2nd and 8. Fournette juggled that handoff, was able to stay with it. He's a yard shy of a first, but another penalty marker. And now 2 flags on the field.
Holding. Offense, number 80. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
It's on the tight end, James O'Shaughnessy.
When Fournette juggled that ball, he was probably supposed to go inside the tight end. He ended up bouncing outside the tight end. So your block is to kick him out, hold him down. And when he bounces outside of you, you have the wrong block, and the defender tries to get away from you, and you're going to get called for holding. You're going to see right on the edge coming in. You can see the hold, the grab of the jersey, because that run is supposed to go inside. When it breaks outside, you've got to just move your feet a little bit better and not get knocked off balance.
9 penalties now against Jacksonville. Bortles looking to throw. Fires over the middle. Wide open is Moncrief. As Bortles hits him at the 22, and now 3 more penalty flags down on the field. That was a great throw from Blake Bortles. Will it stand?
Personal foul, face mask. Defense, number 29. Penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
That's on Minkah Fitzpatrick. And Adam Gase, sitting on the bench, drawing up some offensive plays, just shakes his head.
You end up going zone defense. Minkah Fitzpatrick in the underneath coverage. And right there, you can see the grab. He's going after him to make the tackle. You can see the little head snap of Moncrief, and 3 flags. So every official on that side of the field saw it.
And now Jacksonville has the ball at the 12-yard line. Bortles has provided a spark on this drive.
Hey, Sunday, touch!
Hands it to Fournette. Trying to get around the edge. He can't. Andre Branch, good containment there. Back to New York. Another NFL Today update with JB.
Coach battling back.
Yeah, a hole so big a Marlon Mack truck can fit through. 3-yard touchdown. They close the gap. It's the 4th quarter now. Giants still lead 24-21.
Andrew and James.
All right, guys. Dolphins need the Giants to hold on there to keep their wild card hopes alive. As you see the wild card standings, Baltimore and Tennessee with huge victories yesterday. Fournette again. Fournette stays on his feet inside the 10 and finally brought down by Jones. A gain of 9 for Leonard Fournette.
Fournette is so big that when he takes those little baby steps, you think that perhaps he doesn't have a lot of power. Still a very powerful physical guy at the point of attack as he's churning those legs.
There's an injured Dolphin. It's the linebacker Mike Hull, who has seen a lot of time today, because even though Kiko Alonso is active, Alonso with knee and hamstring injuries has not played, and now his replacement Hull is down. Mike Hull just went in the Dolphins' blue medical tent. We'll get an injury update just as soon as we can. Miami brings on an extra defensive back instead of the linebacker on 3rd and 6.
They're trying to match up with the 3 receivers in the game. So they match up defensive backs, but there's a picket line right at the goal line.
Bortles throwing the fade to the end zone, nobody home. Westbrook got caught up in traffic. It's 4th down. And here comes the kicker, Kai Forbath, to try to give Jacksonville the lead.
Nice stop. Try and get a little rub. Nice but a bump right at the goal line by 36. That's a little deep for Jalen Davis, but got away with it.
Got away with one there. Now Forbath tried a 56-yarder before halftime, did not go very well. This is from 26 yards. And the kick is good. So finally some points. With 10:54 to go, fourth quarter, it's now 10-7 Jacksonville.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by PlayStation. Greatness awaits. KFC, it's finger licking good. And by Honda. Hurry into the Happy Honda Days sales event today.
We had our NFL on CBS crew holiday party Friday night at Top Golf, Miami Gardens. Our crew, these men and women have done such a tremendous job all season. I'm not talking about the golf shots.
No,
I'm talking about
it wasn't top,
the games.
Top golf with the shots.
No, it was not. But we a big thank you for everyone in our crew. It's been a phenomenal year, and we had a lot of fun on Friday night. That field goal, the first points in the last 36 minutes of game action. And it's a touchback. Well, coming up next, a game with huge playoff implications. Pittsburgh trying to move a step closer to the postseason. They take on a New Orleans team that can wrap up the #1 seed in the NFC with a win. Steelers and Saints next here on CBS. And that Baltimore win last night really put the Steelers in a perilous position in terms of trying to get in the playoffs. Pittsburgh desperately needs a win today, coming up on CBS. Let's see how the Dolphins respond offensively. Tannehill fires incomplete. Was looking for Kalen Ballage.
You know, when we started this game, we had the graphic of his last 12 games here in Tannehill. And remember, that's over the 2016 and 2018 seasons, out all of 2017. But 11-1 here at home. So there's a comfort level, but that first play where you're trying to get the drive kick-started with a very easy pass, you've got to make those plays. Now you put the pressure on them and you let this defense get after the pass rush.
This half, 12 plays for the Dolphins. They've gained 15 yards. Tannehill all day, but nobody open. He'll run it himself. And Tannehill all the way out to the 38-yard line. So he gets 12 yards, almost surpassing what Miami had the entire half. And there's a divot from our top golf. Wow, how about that?
As Tannehill was running, at some point you expected him to slide. He stayed upright. He took a big hit at the end. And that's just being tough and being a leader and showing your team, hey, it's time to go. Let's get something done here. Once again, it's that knee brace that he's kind of digging up and taking that big divot.
First down and 10.
Hey, buzzer, buzzer.
And a flag.
Delay game. Offense, number 17. 5-yard penalty. First down.
See, I don't think that should be on Tannehill and the offense because they had to repair some of the turf there, and they took some time to do that. So if I'm Adam Gase, I'm going, well, you know, that's not fair. And looking at Tannehill's numbers here, 11-1 in his last 12 home starts. Like I said, over the 2016 and 2018 seasons, out all of 2017.
Tannehill in trouble, throws, and it's picked off! Telvin Smith, and it's a pick six! Touchdown!
There's a flag down. Telvin Smith, during the return, pointed, taunted at Tannehill. That's not going to be a touchdown. That's going to come back. Undisciplined. That's one of the words that we would hear from the Jaguars. They've had an undisciplined season. Inopportune penalties. That's one right there. You make a great play, and now listen. They will retain possession of the ball, but the touchdown will come off the board.
Telvin Smith with his second interception of the season, as Clay Martin, the referee, has had a busy day.
And the discussion now is, at what point did he taunt, throw the, point at Tannehill after the interception?
The result of the play is a touchdown. There are 2 unsportsmanlikes by Jacksonville. Unsportsmanlike conduct 91. That penalty is declined for taking his helmet off after the score. Unsportsmanlike conduct Jacksonville number 50. That 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. We have the try.
So the touchdown counts. It is a pick 6 for Telvin Smith, the 3rd of his career. And for Tannehill, it's his 9th career pick 6. And more boos from the fans here in Miami as Tannehill is picked off. And Jacksonville now with the extra point try by Forbath. And it's good. 9:34 to go in the 4th quarter, and the Jaguars all of a sudden have a 10-point lead. Well, those are the plays the Jaguars have missed this season. Big plays on defense. Telvin Smith, the pick 6, to give the Jaguars a 10-point lead. 9:34 to go, 4th quarter. And Drake awaiting the kickoff. Now, because of the penalties, Jacksonville kicking off from its own 20-yard line. So in theory, Miami should get some decent field position here. Kickoff to the 5. Here's Drake. Drake trying to get to the outside. And Drake is stopped short of the 25-yard line. Jacksonville does a great job on kick coverage this season. As we go back to the touchdown and the errant throw by Tannehill.
Yeah, Tannehill under pressure here. Probably should take the sack, eat the ball. He has his legs tied up. Telvin Smith picks it off. Maybe I watch a little too much college football on Saturday, because college football, that taunting is a spot foul, but in the pros, they let it go. It's assessed after the play. So my bad there. And, Adam Gase not giving a my bad to Tannehill. He's a little bit upset with him for making that throw.
No, this is not good from a Dolphins perspective in many ways, as Tannehill is back out there firing right to Danny Amendola, who gets a first down. But earlier today, our Jason Lockenfora reporting that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is considering sweeping changes. What does that mean? Is that the GM? Is that Mike Tannenbaum? Is that Adam Gase? And also, what about Ryan Tannehill? He's a guy that could very well be looking for a job in the offseason, as this has not been a good day for Miami.
And it's been a frustrating performance after the opening drive touchdown that the Dolphins were able to register.
Amendola on the jet sweep, and he is tripped up by Calais Campbell. I mean, for Miami, this is a game you cannot afford to lose. You've got these slim playoff hopes, and you need all these different things to happen. But the one thing that you can control is taking care of your own business. And with 8.5 to go against a 4-10 team, they have been flat ever since their opening drive.
And their one option is to really spread it out and try and get the ball down the field against what's going to be good man-to-man coverage.
Drake on the reception, gets away from Telvin Smith and gets another Miami first down.
When you go to Miami skilled players, Kenyon Drake is probably the most explosive, the best threat that you have, and a good matchup going against Telvin Smith, a good cover linebacker. And I think Drake has a little bit of an advantage there. Drake, has the touchdowns that you want, the guy who's been getting in the end zone for you. Got to continue to find ways to get him the ball.
7:40 and counting. Dolphins have the ball at their own 47. Drake again, and he runs into a wall named Marcel Darius. And that's a little Alabama on Alabama crime right there, James.
And you have a tackle who's being double teamed. He splits the double team, just knocks both guys off, and Drake is expecting to follow their block. He follows it they dropped the block, though.
Now, if Drake went to Auburn, Darius wouldn't have helped him up. But since he went to Alabama, he gave him a hand. 2nd and 11. Tannehill on the slant to Parker. Nice catch by Devontae Parker with A.J. Boye bringing him down. And it will bring up 3rd down for the Dolphins, and time winding down inside 7 minutes.
And the Dolphins, who are down by 10, where you are right now on the field, if you don't pick up this 3rd down or gain any more yardage, you're in 4-down territory. So you have to continue to go for it.
Miami just 2 for 8 on 3rd downs today. It's a pitch to Drake. He's looking to throw it. Nobody there. Drake gets back to the line of scrimmage. Wow, that was an interesting call on 3rd and 4. Now a flag comes in. Looked like he was trying to throw it back to Tannehill.
Backwards to Tannehill, where Tannehill was there going to throw it down the field. Well, they had the Miami Miracle a couple of weeks ago, but that wasn't even close to it.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 10. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. We'll replay 3rd down.
It's on Kenny Stills, who has been very quiet today. Just 1 catch for 5 yards.
And we talked about going for it on 4th down, and Doug Marrone looked at it and said, oh, it's going to be 4th and 3. Let's push them back, make it 3rd and 13. I don't think they can gain 13 yards on us in 2 plays.
Really heads-up play by Malik Jackson, as you saw right there. Did not lose track of Tannehill. Clearly Drake was trying to get it back to him. Tannehill in trouble. Tannehill is dropped. Malik Jackson. As we mentioned before, he's seen his snaps decrease the last few weeks, but he's making some plays here. And who's raining down on Miami?
And Malik Jackson just real active, beats the center. And I love what he does at the end, where he lets Tannehill go. Doesn't try and sling him to the ground to get a penalty call against his defense. So physical play and then a smart heads-up play right at the end.
On 4th and 20, can't go for it here. Or at least Adam Gase decides not to, with Westbrook calling for a fair catch at the 12. This Jacksonville defense has really come to play today, James.
They look a lot like the Jacksonville defense of 2017. Physical after the passer, tackling down the field, and making the big splash plays that are game-changing plays. Plays that you saw them make time and time again last season. They're getting it done today.
They've allowed just 183 yards of offense. And now Jacksonville will try to work a little bit of clock here. Up by 10, 5:14 to go. Just joining us, Cody Kessler, who was benched during this game for Blake Bortles, who led Jacksonville to a field goal drive earlier in the quarter. Fournette spins away. Chased by Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he's brought down there, but Fournette turning nothing into something. He gets 7 yards.
And enough on 1st down where Adam Gase can't even consider using a timeout. You're facing 2nd and 3 because you need that stop on 1st down to even think about reaching into your bag of timeouts. Three receivers trying to spread the box out, make it a little thin, make it easier to run against this defensive front.
Play clock at 3. Bortles quick pass caught by Westbrook, and he's going to lose yards on that play. Hull and Fitzpatrick on the tackles. And there is a timeout called by Miami to stop the clock with 4:16 to go.
We saw this play a week ago where Minkah Fitzpatrick stepped in front and made an interception. Here he beats the blocker, makes the tackle behind the line of scrimmage.
It'll be 3rd down and 4 after the timeout. Don't forget, stay tuned for the NFL Today update delivered by Pizza Hut, time permitting. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cower have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up. Miami has been so good at home this year, a 6-1 record at home. And it's a Jacksonville team that entered having losing 5 straight on the road. But Jaguars up 10 with time winding down. 3rd down and 4. Must stop for Miami. Bortles over the middle, caught, 1st down. And now the ball comes loose right to O'Shaughnessy. Green lost it, but his teammate bails him out.
Miami doing exactly what you need to do after the pass is complete. You come, you make the tackle, but you make sure that you try and punch the ball out because you're at a situation where you need a turnover. You get a good punch out by Jalen Davis, number 36, drops it right on the ball, punches it out, and you think, hey, we got a chance, and it goes right to a Jaguar offensive player.
45.
He's the hero of the day now.
O'Shaughnessy doesn't have a catch today.
I got great hands. Look at that.
That's a star for that play. Hyde is the runner on 1st and 10 with the sun shining right up the middle of the field here at Hard Rock Stadium. And there's a timeout called by Adam Gase. He has 1 remaining. Look, from a Miami perspective, James, far-fetched for them to make the playoffs with all the different scenarios and things they needed. But to lose this game at home against a Jaguars team that's 4-10, this we've heard the boos today.
Correct.
And we know the owner's already been thinking about changes. This is not going to sit well with Stephen Ross.
And you got to remember there are 2 angles to look at this game, from Miami's perspective and the Jaguars' perspective. When we met with Calais Campbell, he talked to us about the fact that guys are playing for their jobs. And maybe they're a little hungrier than the team that has the outside edge of getting into a playoff.
It's Hyde again. Slips a tackle and gets a 1st down and more. Hyde stays inbounds to around the 40-yard line, a 19-yard run.
When you're in that must-stop situation, when the linebackers creep up that extra yard closer to the line of scrimmage, if there's a crease, there's nobody there to kind of take the correct angle and get to the runner. And Carlos Hyde, great job keeping those shoulders square, making Minka Fitzpatrick miss right in the hole. And once that's done, it's kind of off to the races a little bit.
Down. Green 80. Green inside.
Hyde, not this time. He's taken down. And there's the last timeout called by the Dolphins and Adam Gase. We sat with Ryan Tannehill on Friday and we said, how does the team bounce back after such a tough loss in Minnesota? And he told us that the plane ride home from Minnesota was rough. Everyone was thinking about the missed opportunities, but we feel like we faced adversity a lot this year and have answered. And he said they had a great practice on Friday and was very encouraged coming into the game. But after that opening drive, it's been a flat performance by the offense. And as you just saw, this loss, assuming they don't pull one out like they did against New England, will eliminate them from playoff contention.
Well, when we looked at the Dolphin numbers offensively and defensively, they didn't look great. The one number that looked great, +9 in turnovers. They haven't been able to use that or make that to their advantage today.
2nd down and 10. Miami's out of timeouts. Hyde up the middle with more room to run. And he's a yard shy of a 1st down. That'll take us to the 2-minute warning. A Jacksonville team that coming in had lost 9 of its last 10 games. As Calais Campbell said this week, we underachieved at the highest level, but you all talked about how there was still a lot to play for in these 2 games, whether it be jobs, whether it be spoiling Miami's season. Jalen Ramsey just said, I wanted to play for the love of the game. I love playing football, and even though we're out of it, I want to keep it rolling. They have showed up and proven that here in the 2nd half at the 2-minute warning.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Forevermark. Discover the Forevermark Tribute Collection at forevermark.com. And by Bud Light, reminding you not to drink and ride your horse.
2 minutes to go here in Miami Gardens, and the Jaguars about to win their 5th game of the season. They're faced with 3rd down and 1 here. Miami is out of timeouts with Blake Bortles under center. He'll hand it off to Hyde, who has the 1st down, and that will do it. And I tell you what, James, a really nice moment for Blake Bortles, who's had a roller coaster career with the Jaguars. Many people believe this will be his last season in Jacksonville. They'll part ways with him afterwards. He was benched this year. He comes into the game, provides a bit of a spark, and they're going to walk out of here with a win. And I think that if you're a Bortles fan, you got to feel good for him on this day.
And he has always had a positive attitude every time we've met with him. Remember, he's only in his 5th year. A lot of quarterbacks with a lot of age on them still playing in this game. A guy who came in with a lot of talent. When he came out of Central Florida, there was a lot on his shoulders, being kind of a hometown kid. He's handled it, I think, pretty well. Hasn't sulked, hasn't done anything like that. He's just tried to weather the storm.
Yeah, Cody Kessler told us that he has been so helpful with Kessler as the starting quarterback, and he said, I believe Blake really wants me to be successful. Cody was praising him in our meeting last night, and he's been a good teammate. He led him to the AFC Championship game a year ago, and didn't happen this year for Bortles and the Jaguars, and the future is uncertain, but at least Bortles has this moment here today to potentially close out his Jacksonville career. Coming up here on CBS, we'll have bonus coverage of the Giants and the Colts. 2 minutes to go, a tight one there, with the Giants ahead by 6. As Doug Marrone and Adam Gase hug at midfield, and with this loss, Miami is eliminated from playoff contention. A disappointing result for the Dolphins as they go to 7-8, and you can take them off the list of in the hunt. It's Indianapolis fighting for their lives against the Giants with an 8-6 record. Final score, Jacksonville 17, Miami 7. For James Lofton, this is Andrew Catalon saying so long from Miami Gardens. Don't forget, our doubleheader day will continue with the Steelers and the Saints. Let's go to James Brown in New York for the NFL Today update. It's delivered by Pizza Hut.